Hello, amazing people. It is Lou here from Live What You Love Business Coaching, and I am just here. I'm super excited because today we're here interviewing the most beautiful girl, Keana from Empowering Intuition, where she is going to be sharing with us her amazing journey to becoming a coach. She's also a graduate psychologist. And sorry, let me just add, and a coach where she empowers both men and women around the world to trust their intuition and to really follow that intuition to make life decisions. And we're going to have a giveaway. More.
Hello.
Hello, Keana.
How are you?
Good. How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. And I'm getting feedback at my end of myself. Do you have
any problems at your
end?
No, I'm pretty good, I think.
Perfect.
Let me
tap there.
Okay.
All right. I'll just have to
deal with it. Firstly, I really wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today to hear all about your journey, graduate psychology, graduating tomorrow, which is a huge achievement. You are an international coach,
started your own business, and you now work with men and women all over the world to trust their intuition and to trust that guidance to be able to make really empowering life decisions. And I'm super grateful to have you here. And over to you. First and foremost, I would love to hear a little bit about yourself, all of the viewers that are going to be jumping on.
Thanks so much, Lou. So basically, the reason that I decided to do this was, as you said, I was doing psychology at uni, and I did it in high school as well. And I really like it. I find it interesting, but I just can't connect with how disempowering it is. Sometimes, obviously, not everyone follows the same traditional things, but I like empowering people. I like people to know that they can make a difference in their lives because they really can. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I always felt that way. Even going into psychology at uni, I knew that I didn't want to do it as a career. And then one day at the start of my final year of uni, I came across life coaching, and I knew what it was, but I hadn't really thought about it before as an actual option, because you don't really get exposure to those kinds of things. And I started looking into it, and I got really into it, and I was like, wow, this is actually what I need to do, before I really knew like what it entailed or anything. But I found a course, I went and did it, and I love it. So I'm just excited to be helping people, giving them a new perspective and being able to move forward in their lives rather than just feeling like they can't do anything and they can't move forward and they're stuck in their situation.
Yeah, awesome. And Keana, if you don't mind me bringing this up, I guess I started my coaching business a few years ago when I was 32, 33. Quite advanced in years compared to yourself. So congratulations to you for doing it at such a young age. Why now? How did you connect to help people and coach in this space? I guess a lot younger than what most of us kind of have done.
It's a great question. I wish I knew the answer, but it sort of just happened, really. I think I've always been like that, and there's people close to me in my family who have issues with mental health, and I've always been into empowering them to be able to make a difference in their lives, because a lot of the time they go and see psychologists and psychiatrists, and they get told, this is what you have, this is your label, this is what you're going to experience in your life. Can't really do anything about it. You just sort of got to learn to live with it. But that's, in my view, that's not the case. There's always something you can do to get there. It might not be easy. It'll be really hard, but, you know, it's just the fact that you can do something about it. And that's been super empowering for people that are close to me and for me as well. So I just want to be able to spread that message to everyone.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's
Hey, Leila, we've got, is there a chance, Keana, can you turn my phone? There's a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Is it better now?
I didn't even think that could be the reason why you need feedback. I'm a bit technically challenged.
I'm still getting the feedback.
Yeah, my volume's really low, so I can barely hear you myself.
I don't really know how to solve
that problem.
I think that we're just going to
I
have
think
to
that we're just going to have to bear with the feedback. I'm sorry,
but I don't know how to solve
I like hearing
but
your
I don't know how to solve that.
Thank you, Dad.
How do I get rid of it?
Love you.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so
back on you. So you have obviously
in your own life,
starting the coaching journey for, to empower people based on your external world and seeing people really challenging.
So what led you
to then wanting to empower women to trust their intuition?
Why specifically that
niche market again?
It's been really relevant in my life. Like I said, when I decided to switch to life coaching as opposed to psychology, it sort of just was a feeling. Like, before I knew anything about it, I was just like, whoa, that's something that I have to look into. That's something that I have to go to. So I literally researched it for not long at all. Found an intro day for the course in my area, went there, and then signed up for the course on that day, paid the 12 grand to do the course up front, literally straight away. So I was that sure about it. And I feel like that was definitely more of an intuitive feeling than an actual, I didn't really think about it that much. So because that was so big for me, I've realized that just trusting your gut, you really can feel when something's right for you or when something's not right for you. And that helps you guide yourself to your purpose, because sometimes you can get lost in what other people want you to do or what societal expectations are. So it's really good to just tune into your intuition, and that's, a surefire way of doing what's right for you.
Cool. So what would be your advice for those who are challenged by that guidance?
I know from my own experience,
there was a time
there where I may have had some gut feelings, but I was so disconnected to what that was and didn't trust what that was. So what's the initial stages when we're starting to recognise that we're feeling a little gut, or that we're not trusting that guidance? We're looking to make some changes. How do we know it's our intuition?
Well, how do you know it's your intuition? I would say is when there's no other inputs. So there's no secondary gain. There's nothing else that could be influencing that feeling. It's just literally just comes from nowhere. It's like, wow, that's what I want. And, there's obviously therapies that we learn in our coaching that can also help you identify those things. Like we learn MBIT, which is all about aligning your head brain, your heart brain, and your gut brain. And that really distinguishes the different feelings and makes sure that you're aligned and, you know, you can recognize what you really want. So yeah, if you're just doing it by yourself, I would say just making sure that there's no other inputs and it's just coming from deep within you. Otherwise, if you need a hand, obviously, I can help.
You are the expert.
You are the expert.
And do you have an
opinion on why we may fall out of alignment with that intuition?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's harder to stay in line with your intuition nowadays, I think, than it is to fall out of line, because you know, like we're always dealing with expectations, social expectations. We have more access to things like that now than we ever have with social media and TV and everything like that. You know, people are living lifestyles that look so much better than what the average lifestyle is, and people only put things out there that they want people to see. So you might find yourself thinking you want something just because it looks good on social media, but it's not actually what you really want. And sometimes you might feel guilty for what you actually want, so you suppress that and you think you want what someone else actually wants you to want. So yeah, it's definitely something that's easy to fall out of line with. So that's why you need to become aware about it and make sure you're putting focus into it every day to make sure that you're giving yourself what you need.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
And you work with your clients
in that space
to help them,
recognize what is it that they truly want, opposed to what Instagram and Facebook does that we think we want.
Do you have any
tips for anyone that's watching that may be feeling a little stuck, or they're unsure on what it is that they actually really want, either in their career, in their relationship, in their business, or in their life?
I think something that's good for like a general finding out what you want and getting in tune with yourself is self-awareness in general, but specifically focusing on your values. I think a lot of the time, you know, people know what values are, sort of, but it's not something that you think of as a driving force behind what you do in your day-to-day life and when you're making your decisions and stuff like that. So becoming aware of your values can really help you tune into that and, you know, helps you make more clear decisions rather than sitting on the fence, not really knowing, you know, just it helps you make decisions that are definitely in line with your purpose. So I've actually written a blog about values, which it isn't up yet, but when it's up, I'll share it so everyone can read it. But it's just a really in-depth description of what you can do, like what values are, why they're helpful, and what you can do to get in touch with your values. And it's sort of a process as well. So you do it once, but then something might like alter, so you need to go back and check in with it. So yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And
anyone that is joining
again, we're terribly sorry about the feedback. But if you've got any questions, please, jump down below. You've got the expert Keana here to ask directly. Anyone who's watching the replay, she'll respond, I'm sure, in the comments. But just remember, you can ask away.
And then back onto values,
Keana, I think, to be fair, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in my own experience,
understanding or learning
more about what I value and the hierarchy of my values,
it doesn't just stop
once. I found that I'm constantly checking back in with my values. Sometimes they may shift,
depending on the situation,
and sometimes that can change. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because like you might have the value of trying to think of an example. You know, maybe your value is, can't think of an example right now, but with what you're saying, that there might be values that can be in line with each other, but you might be in a certain situation where they're actually opposing to each other. So you might think, but this is what I feel. Like, say someone tells you something and you think of yourself as a trustworthy person, but it's something that's really bad and it goes totally against your values, and it's like to do with your best friend. Say like someone cheated on your best friend, and then someone tells you and they're confiding in you, and like trust is one of your values, but then there's your best friend there, you have to talk to them about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely like sometimes they can be in line with each other, sometimes they can just leave you sitting on the fence, but that's where you have sort of a hierarchy of what's important in different situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And
controversially,
I don't know whether you watched Married at First Sight Australia or not, but I've definitely kept up to date since moving to New Zealand. And there is some value disalignment going on in that program and with its viewers, which is fascinating.
Definitely. I've definitely been keeping up. I did watch it last night. Yeah, it's I used to really like Martha, but now she's sticking up for Jess, and that's sort of pissing me off. I'm on what's her name? Jules. I'm on her side. Like I reckon you do want to go with your heart. So that's one of those things. Like, you want to follow your heart, but you need to do it in the right way, and that just wasn't a respectable way at all. So yeah.
Agreed. I had to bring that in when you were talking about what if
your best friend's been cheated on, that's immediately what came to my mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. Our values are aligned.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another thing about
values. One question
here from
Leela. She says, hi Keana, what does a session with you typically involve?
Oh, thanks, Leela. So it totally depends on the person, I think. So generally, like, to start off, I would have a sort of discovery call where I would find out what the person wants, where they are now, where they want to be, and what's stopping them from getting there. And depending on what's stopping them from getting there, I would then decide which technique would be the best to help them move forward. So there's a lot of talking, a lot of figuring out what's going on and what's blocking them. And then that can also change throughout the sessions. So obviously we'll keep checking back in and doing what we need to do to get them to move forward. And once they're able to move forward is when we can start putting goals in place and action steps and stuff like that to actually get them where they want to be.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. And just to
touch on that too, because
some people haven't ever experienced coaching before, or NLP type of coaching before. For the new people that are exposed to it, like,
how does that kind of
process kind of work for you? Like, is it a slow process? Like, are you guided by the client, or do you set the structure and you work along, or how does that kind of work?
I think it's like you can set a structure and that can work, and sometimes you do have to stick to a structure to make sure that you're not going off track and you're not just having a chat, because then the client loses value. So sometimes it's important to have a structure, but then there's also the inevitable factor that sometimes things change and things will come up. So there has to be flexibility within that structure as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Some here says I understand
regarding values.
What works for me?
What works for me in a work environment doesn't work for me in a personal environment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
that?
So,
is that normal?
Yeah,
of course. So This is actually my dad. And he's talking about being in the police force. So in the police force, it's a high stress job. You have to have really high stress reactions to things. Like, you've got to be on the ball all the time, making decisions on the spot, and a lot of the time there's like adrenaline reactions in your body, and you've got to be like that to be able to get the job done. But then you come home and you sort of would prefer to be more relaxed. You don't really want to be like high adrenaline all the time when you're dealing with things at home. But like, there's things like neuroplasticity in your brain where when you have the same reactions all the time, it starts to become a habit and you can't really just switch it on and off. So that's when it stops working for you, when you're in a different environment.
Yeah.
And is there a way
to have
balance?
Like,
so that you're not, or do you just have to be
really mindful
of two different
environments and different environment and train your brain to understand high pressure, low pressure?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be possible with mindfulness to be able to separate them, but you would have to know that it's happening first. And sometimes that just gets past you because you're just used to it. It's just a natural thing. So once it's gone further than that and you can't be preventative anymore, now it's like you got to fix it because it's already happened. I think that, like I was talking about with the neuroplasticity and the pathways in your brain, you've got to recreate those pathways. You've just got to be really mindful about how you're reacting to things. And every time that you practice doing it the way that you want it to be, it gets stronger and stronger. So then eventually that becomes your new habit.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Cool. So
that's cool. So it's basically recognizing what you are not enjoying in that environment or situation, rumbling with that to decide what it is that you want,
and then going
through the change, ultimately changing your routine or your pathway to be able to achieve the desired outcome.
Right.
Yeah, and it's super hard and it takes a long time and a lot of practice. But like I said, it can be hard for people because they think, it's going to take so long. But I like to put it like every single time you do it, it's getting stronger and stronger. So you just have to do it once and you've already made progress.
Yeah.
So
it's just like
when we may not want to go to the gym in the morning, you're just going to go keep building the muscle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Excellent.
Well, Keana,
I guess the last thing that I really wanted to talk about is that for those that jump on and either watch this video live or the recording, you do have something really special to give away to a couple of the viewers.
Would you like
to share what that exciting free giveaway is?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually giving away 3 free coaching sessions. So first 3 people to contact me, it's your lucky day.
Excellent.
And so does
that matter what type of coaching they're after? Like, does it matter whether they're stuck in their job, in their life, or anything? Is there any specific problem they need to come with you with, or just any problem?
It can be any problem because, I want to help as many people as I can. And I feel like a lot of problems stem from the same thing, feeling stuck, having limiting beliefs. So, anyone who feels like that is at the root of their problem, doesn't really matter what the overarching thing is, I can work with you on that.
Yeah, so I just need to have one
problem at least.
Contact you.
Be
one of the first
3, and I will get one of those free giveaway sessions.
Yes.
Excellent.
Now, how do we contact you if we would like to take advantage of that free giveaway when one of these sessions?
So if you go onto my Facebook page, Empowering Intuition Coaching, you can message me on there. I've also got my email linked to there. My website's linked on there, which you can make an inquiry on as well. So it's pretty much up to you. Otherwise, if you're just super lazy or you have no time, you can just comment on this and I'll message you.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, Keana,
I just want to say a massive thank you so much for joining me today and sharing with us a little glimpse into what it is that you do, how you empower men and women to be able to trust their gut, trust their intuition to make really empowering decisions. I'm sure everyone who has watched this so far and will continue to watch has found it super valuable. And I really just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And I'm excited for who gets your 3 sessions.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your interest and all the questions you asked me. Yeah, thank you for your time. And I really hope some people got something out of this, and I'm excited too.
Excellent. Well, we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day.
And if anyone is interested in one of those free sessions, comment below or head over to her Facebook business page and shoot her a message.
Thanks, guys, and thanks, Lou.
See ya.
See ya.